One of the greatest gifts that God gives to people is the gift of being a parent, and that we would, because of some sort of misguided understanding of biblical scripture or our own phobias, particularly our own homophobia, the idea that we as parents would purposely damage the spiritual, psychological, or emotional makeup of a child is just incredible. It's just incredible. It's not part, at least in my tradition, of what being a Jewish parent is. I have to say that this bashing of homosexuals and LGBTs is much more prevalent in Christianity than it is in Judaism. That even includes Orthodox Judaism, the most traditional Judaism that might be against homosexual relationships, but chastising and stigmatizing is just not a part of it. It's more of a part of Christianity. Here in our congregation, I don't deal with those things because we are totally welcoming. We have special programs. We're going to have a special Passover meal later on this year for the LGBT community. We've done special Sabbath services. So I don't have I don't have any Jewish kids that have come to me and said, I don't know how I can still be Jewish, I'm coming out or whatever. It's not the same problem that it is for a lot of my Christian colleagues. Christians usually misread and selectively read the Torah in terms of homosexuality. For example, Leviticus 18 and 20 talks about that it's a sin for a man to lie with another man, and yet if you look at how that word lie is used elsewhere, in about 80 or 90% of the cases it has to do with violent rape of some sort. And then it also calls it an abomination, and yet if you look at the other things that are used in the Bible that are referred to as an abomination, one is lying and the other is eating shellfish. Okay, so that's selective. But the thing that always fascinates me the most is that between those two verses is the holiness code, which says, love your neighbor as yourself, which in both Christian and Jewish tradition is considered one of the primary mitzvot or primary commandments. So I don't know how you ignore that, love your neighbor as yourself, how you ignore saying that creation was good and that all people are created in God's image, or how you ignore the idea that justice which was preached by the biblical prophets, doesn't mean just us. It means justice for all. When we legally write into laws, as we've done in state constitutions, laws which discriminate against LGBT people, that is justice for just us, the majority. It is not justice for all. It is totally out of keeping with the message of the biblical prophets, totally out of keeping with the compassion towards all that I interpret from Jesus in the New Testament, totally out of keeping with the message of Dr. Martin Luther King, and totally, from my point of view, in conflict with the great messages of compassion, justice, and mercy of Jewish tradition. As parents, when we raise kids, they go through, beginning with early adolescence and through high school, they go through great periods of identity and ego formation. If we stigmatize them, if we make them feel bad about themselves at this time, then we're creating adult human beings with severe problems, not only spiritually, but also psychologically and behaviorally. When a young person comes and is saying that they're or that they're coming out to their parents and how they should deal with it, they may or may not be experiencing rejection. I think their parents are usually in shock, okay? But what I really tell them is that it took 40 years for the Israelites to get from Egypt to the Promised Land. It is not going to take that was a journey. It is not going to take 40 years for their parents to adjust to this decision of theirs, or adjust to this reality. But it still is going to be a journey. And so if they're disappointed with their parents' initial reaction, then just have a little bit of mercy and compassion for them, and say they're eventually going to get to where they need to be. They're still going to love me. They eventually are going to be more accepting of who I am, and they will get there. And I have to tell you, at least in our tradition and in our community, in 100% of the cases, that's what I've seen. Okay, that if people understand that it's not just kids, but parents are going on a journey as to understanding what homosexuality is in their family and how they think about it, then it's much better than being reactive and judgmental. I know many parents that have gone through this, and for both parents and kids, if you acknowledge that this is a process and a journey, you'll be much better off than being judgmental and doing things which threaten the very future of the relationship.